In this lesson, we're going to retopologize the feet and try to find and fix any errors. So we're going to create a temporary feet because we're going to replace it with footwear, some sort of shoes. And for now, I just want to close this area. Now I think we can check for any problems, and also we can optimize some areas which look messy like this. So here is an important thing. Before we continue with any optimization or error fixing, please stop here, close the project, and take a backup, duplicate the blend file and open a copy. Because now we have a full complete retopology, but we want to optimize it. During optimization, you might want to change the topology, you might delete something, and also you might want to go back. For that purpose, please take a backup. Secondly, please try to optimize as many areas as you can. For example, the face, the ear, etc. Look at the reference images of clean topology and also use the provided project files and try to match the topology to those. Let's continue. Now we will look for any problems and fix them, and then our retopology will be ready. So we will shade it smooth and look around. Actually, I will hide the sculpt, turn off in front. So one thing we can do in edit mode, we need to alt select this edge loop, this middle edge loop, and it should select the whole loop without any interruptions. So this means there is no interruptions anywhere, and we should move this along the x-axis ever so slightly in order to snap any vertices to each other if they are not snapped. And I will also add subdivision surface modifier and check once again. And put it at the top of the modifier stack. And let's turn on wireframe view in the viewport overlay settings. Look for any problems. This one is typical because we still haven't applied the mirror modifier. We don't have to worry about that. And there is a problem right here. I think there are overlapping faces here. For some reason, there are these big faces. Let's remove them. Now I guess the problem is fixed. Let's check for any inverted normals. No red faces, so there are no inverted normals. So this is what we have done. This is our retopologized mesh, and this is the subdivide version. I think we are going to use this one. So now the exercise or the challenge for you is to finish the whole retopology, fix any issues, optimize any areas, and give it a subdivision surface modifier with one level of detail. Show the wireframe from here and take a screenshot or render it and showcase it on our Discord community server. So that was all for this lesson. I hope to see you in the next one. So in this lesson, we are going to create the clothes. We will create a shirt, trousers, and shoes. I hope to finish all that in one video. Before we start, I'd like to apply all these modifiers. And before you apply the modifiers, please take a copy of your entire blend file. We should be extra careful when we put in a lot of effort like this, right? Let's go. You should apply the modifiers from top to bottom. So let's start from the first, which is subdivision surface. And we can't go back, so please take a copy before you apply the modifiers. Of course, you can bring in the shrink wrap modifier again. That's not a big problem, but the mirror modifier, the subdivision surface modifier, they can't be, the effects can't be undone. Let's get a bit organized and call this collection character sculpt F2. And this cube, well, we need the eyes. Let's bring back the eyes. Take it out of that collection. Let's put these two in one collection, M, character retopo, let's say. Now we will take a copy of the body, Shift D, just like that, and call it character body archive. We will keep one in the archive. Now we can freely destroy this one. The sphere will be eyes. The cube will be the body. Now let's create the shirt. So modeling clothes is a tricky process, especially if you're modeling a female character. There are so many types of clothes here, but we're going to choose the simplest one, which has the least moving parts, like this one or this one, the blue one. I think I'm going to go with this. We won't have too many moving parts on the items on the body of the character because we're going to pose it, we're going to animate it in the future, and I'm going to create a new course on character animation, and in that course I will show you how to animate the clothes, but for this course we will keep things simple. Now, for the shirt, let's go to edit mode. We're going to duplicate parts of the body. Let's select this edge loop actually, and let's hide it. This edge loop, hide it. Let's hide this one too, and I guess we will hide this edge loop. And the rest is the shirt. Control L, Shift D, P, and selection. Let's go out of edit mode, select the character. Now this one is the shirt. This is not the body, this is the shirt. Rename it to shirt. To make it a bit more visible, I'm going to give it a material real quick. It's a very simple material. Let's give a material, call it shirt. And in viewport display options from here, we will change the color to something like brown, but I can't see the color. Maybe it's because of the shading. So it's very simple. We are not seeing the color simply because the shirt and the body is overlapping right now. Let's go to edit mode, Alt S slightly and increase and make it a bit larger than the body with Alt S. Now we can easily see, and we are seeing the viewport display color of the material. Can change it to any color we like. Once we have the shirt, we don't have to have the details under the shirt. For example, we can easily delete the parts of the body which is under the shirt. Well, that's very simple. Let's hide the shirt. We can select some more loops from here because we need to have some overlapping space on the shirt and the body. We can hide these areas too, and we can delete this part. We are not going to delete it, we will just separate it and hide it. Now if you look carefully, for example, you can hide the shirt and you see there is no body inside. We can change a few areas from here. We don't have to have these details now, we can easily delete them. And one thing we can do is to delete one side of the shirt, delete vertices, and apply a mirror modifier. Yeah, let's apply mirror, turn on clipping. Now we can go to sculpting and change a few things. Turn on x-axis mirror. Actually, we don't have to have x-axis mirror here. Since the topology of the body didn't translate very well to be a shirt, I decided to delete this shirt and create it completely from scratch in the next video. We can keep it like this for now, and let's go and create the trousers. Actually, the rest will be the trousers. We can hide this, Control L, Alt H, Control L. So this will be, no, we don't need the feet. Hold down Control to deselect. Go to face select mode, P. I didn't duplicate this part. I think that's fine. Now we can go to sculpting. I didn't duplicate this part. Let's turn on x-axis mirror, simplify it a little. Take the inflate brush and inflate it. Let's smooth things out. I think it's looking okay. If you need this part of the body, you can always bring it back from the archive, because we have the archive and we have everything here. So you can bring them back. And I think the topology is too dense here. We can delete a few edge loops. Select this edge loop, for example. We can delete it, or maybe this edge loop, X, dissolve. Maybe this one too. I'm not sure, but let's try. From here too. Now we can select this edge loop. Press V to split it and select this, Control L. Let's delete this. Apply mirror modifier. Turn on clipping. Let's give it a simple color. Not too dark. We will of course give some details to these clothes later on, but for now this is enough, I guess. And finally, the shoes. I think we need to model the shoes from scratch. I will bring this image into a Blender so that we can create the bottom of the shoes first. You can simply drag and drop into the Blender's viewport if the image is supporting format. This image is JPEG, so I can simply drag and drop. Alt-R to reset the rotation, RZ 180. Now this is the left foot. Make it smaller. Control-7 to loop from the bottom. Go to image properties and turn on opacity. We will roughly match the feet. Now we can model on top of this image. For that, we will hide the character, the entire character. Loop from the top. Let's go and create a plane. Go to edit mode, scale it down. So I guess this is nice looking shoes. We can give it a mirror modifier and unhide everything else. I think we should make them closer to each other in edit mode. Move it along x-axis, and we will delete the bottom of the feet. This is the place where we split it. V to split, Control L, and delete these vertices. We will select everything in this loop, so make it a little smaller and put it down a little. We can delete this part and give it a mirror modifier too, and I think we are good to go. Now it's time for a small challenge or an exercise for you. As I said during the video, we are going to delete this shirt because the topology of the body wasn't very suitable for being a shirt. So in the next video we are going to create it, but a challenge for you is to create the shirt before watching the next video. A quick tip is that you are going to use the retopology tools like face snapping, or if you want you can also use the shrink wrap modifier. Once you have created the shirt, please take a screenshot and share on our Discord community server. You can find the link to the server in the resources section of the last video in this course. That was all for this lesson. I hope to see you in the next one. In the last lesson, we created these base clothes, and as a challenge, I asked you to delete this shirt if you create the shirt from scratch with cleaner topology, and I hope you have done that and shared your work on our Discord server. And now we are going to do it from scratch. As I said in the last video, we're going to use face snapping tools. We can simply duplicate a vertex from the body. Let's go to edit mode of the body, select any vertex. Actually, let's select a face. Shift D, P, and selection. Let's turn on face snapping, go to edit mode, activate vertex select mode, add mirror modifier right from the beginning, use clipping. Let's actually enable the retopology shading mode so that we can see it all the time. Enable the mirror modifier in edit mode. For this part, I think we need shrink wrap modifier. Let's add one. In order for the shrink wrap to work better, I'm going to join the two parts of the body. Control J, go to edit mode, select everything, M and by distance to delete any overlapping vertices. Now let's go back. We need more polygons around the shoulder because the shoulder area deforms a lot. That's why we need more detail here. Now we can apply the shrink wrap modifier in object mode, and we can fix a few areas here. GX, tightly snap to each other. Select the lower part. G to move it. Let's actually select this edge loop. G to snap. Select these. Turn this off. GZ, slightly. There is an extra vertex for some reason here. Let's delete this vertex. I think there is an extra edge loop here. Now again, we can remove the part of the body that we don't need. So we're going to remove from here. You can press V to split, and here let's actually remove from this area. V, V. Now select anything from here, press L and P to separate the selection, and you can hide it. And for some reason the front area is shaded smooth. Let's right click and shade smooth everything. Turn off retopology shading mode. Select everything, Alt S to make it slightly larger in scale. Now this shirt has cleaner topology. Now I will show you a really nice tip to optimize the topology even more. Let's go to sculpting. Let's turn on the wireframe visibility from here so that you see what's happening. And let's take the relax brush. You can hold down Shift and relax the topology. You can see how the edges are getting corrected on the fly. Hold down Shift. Don't forget to hold down Shift when you're using Relax Pinch Brush. You can use this Relax Pinch Brush in order to clean up the topology of the trousers, etc. For some reason we lost one of our legs. I think this happened when we joined the parts of the body, so we need to clean this up a little. Let's go to Edit Mode, select everything, press M and select by distance. We haven't deleted any vertices, so everything's fine. Let's actually separate this into its own object by pressing P in Edit Mode and add Mirror Modifier. Let's select the arms, go to Edit Mode and delete these. Actually, let's delete one arm, and also we'll delete the part of the head. V to split, select any vertex, Control L, and let's delete the half of the face. Apply mirror modifier, turn on clipping, so let's keep it like this. I will also separate the arm. This way, when we change or delete something or join something, we don't screw it up. Now we're going to add very small details, especially on the edges or the finishes of the clothes. I believe they're called hems. So let's add, select this edge, extrude a little, scale it up, extrude again, S to scale down, and extrude inwards so that we don't see it. Turn on proportional editing and Alt S. Actually, we need to select everything here, I believe. Scale down. They shouldn't be too close to each other. Scale this part down. Turn the proportional editing on. Scale down again. And we will add that here too. Control R, GZ. Let's turn this off. guess this is looking a little nicer. We will add more details using sculpting and textures. The same thing here. Actually, let's apply shrink wrap modifier. Select the trousers, but this happens. In order to fix that, we will use vertex groups. Turn this off for now. Let's go to edit mode, select everything, edge loop, Control G, vertex group, turn this off, apply that vertex group. Yeah, that's fine, and we apply the shrink wrap modifier, and we will scale it up. Alt S, select this, Alt S. I guess that's working. Select the trousers, go to edit mode, maybe we will scale it down. Alt S, and let's fix this finish. Do the same thing here. So let's add some more details to the trousers. Let's change the color actually, make it lighter so that we can see it. We'll add, for example, the pockets. We can select these faces actually, these ones. You can hold down Control and Shift and select this in a kind of diagonal form. This looks like a good area for the pockets. So let's change the shape a little so that it looks more like a pocket. We are lucky that we have the topology shape like this. Press I, select these faces, maybe just I, and Alt S, select these faces, put them slightly inwards, maybe not too much. I think this looks alright for a pocket, and we will give more details using texturing. Now let's come here about this area where the zip is usually located. We can't do it now because we have a mirror modifier and we will have the same shape on both sides. Let's apply the mirror modifier. We will see. Maybe we will change our mind and go back. We can run an edge loop around here so that it's more visible. So yeah, these are nice little touches. I think these made clothes look much better. And if you want to see the details better, you can come here to shading properties and turn on cavity. And now you immediately see the details much better than before. So I think we have done everything we wanted to do in this lesson. Now it's time for quick questions. The first question, what sculpting brush did we use to optimize the topology? So for example, to optimize the topology of the shirt in sculpting mode, we use the Relax Pinch brush. It's an excellent tool to optimize the topology. You simply hold down Shift and it will do its job. Why do you think we deleted the parts that are under the clothes? Because first of all, it's extra geometry that we will never see and never use. Secondly, and most importantly, when we rig and animate the character in the future, those parts under the clothes might be visible in some situations. They might protrude or stick out from under the clothes, and it might require a lot of work to keep them hidden under the clothes. Finally, very simple question, I think you probably know this. What can you do to see the details better in the viewport? Well, to see the details better in the scene, we simply come here to Viewport Shading Settings and turn on Cavity. We can choose from Screen or World, or we can use both, which might make things even more visible. So that was all for this lesson. I hope to see you in the next one. So we have got an important job for this lesson. We are going to create the inner parts of the mouth where we will have teeth, tongue, etc. Although it's not always visible, it's an important part of a character, especially the teeth. When the character opens its mouth to speak, to laugh, whatever, we really need to see the teeth. So we're going to model that. We don't have to sculpt it. First of all, we will create the cage, the inner part of the mouth. So let's go closer. For now, we will hide a few things. So Shift H to hide everything else. Let's leave the head only. We will go to edit mode, look from the side view, Shift Z for wireframe, press C. That's a nice selection tool. You can scroll to make the selection tool larger or smaller. Select the area that we need. You can press middle mouse button to deselect. So I selected this area because I want to hide that. Now in edit mode, we can create the inner section of the mouse. So let's select this edge loop, extrude, Alt S. It doesn't scale very well, so GY to move it. So let's select the upper part, GZ, lower part, GZ. There's one edge here that we don't have to select. Yeah, just like that. And actually we don't need this many detail inside the mouth. It can be quite simple. So let's GG to slide these vertices. Press F to fill this area. GG, we will do that. We will do that again. GG. We can extrude one more time. So we need this shape roughly. We can close this area, but we don't have to actually. We can leave it like this. Now the inner mouth section is ready. We are going to create the teeth. And for the teeth, I have got a few references. Please look at them. And the number of teeth in adults is usually 32 if they developed all those teeth. But for most people, 28 teeth are kind of standard, so we will create 28. Let's start with a cube, go to edit mode, make it smaller. Now the inner mouth and the objects in the inner mouth are ready. We can call this lesson finished. Before you go, we have some quick questions for you. These are all related to modeling, so you probably already know them, but still they are a quick refresher. First, how do you align vertices along one axis? It's very easy and extremely useful. For example, you want all these vertices aligned horizontally. For that, you can scale them along z-axis, right? But there is a shortcut. You can press S and then Z and then 0. You can use this shortcut with other axes too. For example, SX, or you can say SX0. The next question, how do you split the mesh along an edge? We have done this a lot, so it's very easy. You select the edge and you press V. Next question, how do you transform different elements or objects around their own pivot point? It's also very easy. For example, let's say you want to scale these two cubes around their own pivot point. I mean, you want to scale them individually without moving, but by default they move because they scale around a common median point. You can change the pivot point from here, and if you change it to individual origins, you scale them. We have done this a few times during the lesson, that's why I'm asking this. So that's all for this lesson. See you in the next one. So our character is almost ready, but this beautiful girl is missing a very important part, which is her hair. So in this lesson, we're going to create hair for her. Before we create the hair, we need to learn in what way we're going to create that hair. So in character development, there are three very common ways of creating hair. The first is hair particles, as you can see. This one is the most realistic, but is the biggest bottleneck for performance. It's very resource intensive, so we mostly use it for still renders or animated films where we need extra realism. The second type is hair cards. These are subdivided planes with hair textures with some transparency. That's why they are efficient and very performant and ideal for games. The last one is hair mesh, and these are ideal for stylized characters. You can sculpt them and then retopologize, or you can directly model them. Since we haven't sculpted them, we are going to model them, and I'll teach you a really quick way to model the hair using curves. Before modeling the hair using curves, we need to know a little information about curves. So if you know how to use the curves very well in Blender, you can skip this part and go to the next part where we start modeling the hair using curves. But if you don't know anything about curves, you can stay with me, watch this part, learn some information about the curves. So let's create a curve object, Shift A, curve, and Bezier curve, which is the most common one. By default, it's a simple thin line, and you can go to edit mode by pressing Tab. And you can see the handles, which you can scale, rotate, and move, just like any other thing in Blender. As you can see, curve has some unique properties, and its shape is calculated real time. If you used curves in any program like Photoshop or Illustrator or any other program, it is almost the same thing, but here in Blender it's 3D, which means you can transform it in 3 dimensions. If you select some parts of the curve and right-click, you have a whole menu of settings related to the curve, and you also have curve properties here, which we will be using. You can extrude the curves from any edge. You can select and subdivide the curves to have more definition. You can also toggle the visibility of curve normals by coming here to Curve Edit Overlays and turn on Normal. The normals will show you the direction of the curve and also the density. So by transforming the handles, you can create any shape. You can select the handles by the middle vertex or each of these poles. You can also press S to scale using the handles, but this doesn't actually scale the curve, but rather change its shape. If you want to scale the curve, you don't press S, but you press Alt S, and this essentially scales the curve, as you can see. You can rotate the curve in 3 dimensions using these handles, but also you can tilt the curve by pressing Ctrl T. The handle type that you see by default is aligned, but you can change the type by pressing V and change to any other, like for example vector is sometimes very useful. Now let's quickly go over the curve properties from here. Let's take a look at this resolution setting, which is an essential property that we need. In order to show you what this is, I'm going to turn normals off, and let's rotate this scaled up a little. Let's come closer, and you can see these angled, so we can make it smoother by increasing this resolution, for example to 24, and we have much smoother detail here. Now, the most important property that we need for this lesson is inside this geometry options, which is bevel. Beveling will generate geometry around the curve, which essentially will be our hair clumps. So let's check it by increasing the depth. And now it's no longer a curve. It looks like a tube or pipe. Now let's go to wireframe view to see the topology. And let's see how it changes on the fly as we change the properties here. For example, let's go and change the resolution and see how it affects. To 12, as you can see, now we have less resolution, for example 2. We have a very low poly curve now. Also, we have this resolution. So this resolution can be changed here. Let's bring it down to, for example, 2 or even 1, and you can see how it's changing the topology. We can also fill the caps by toggling this fill caps option. As you can see, we closed this edge, but I think we don't need that. So now you know how to change the resolution of the curve, how to change the quality. So let's change it back to 24 and this to 4. Currently, our curve's geometry is circular, but we can change that too. One way to change the shape is to use another curve. So we can drive this shape, this circular shape, using a different curve. So let's create another curve, for example, circle. And let's change the shape of the circle. Press 7, any shape, doesn't matter too much now. Let's say this shape, right? Now let's select this main curve, come here to bevel, change this to object, and select the new curve that we created. Now, as you can see, it is the exact same shape. Of course, it's too big. We can make it smaller by changing the size of this curve. And we can also go into the edit mode of the curve, select everything, and press Alt S to scale down. So this is the first way to change the shape of the curve. Let's change it back to round. But in recent years, Blended added this profile option, which lets us to use this graph to change the shape of the curve right here, as you can see. So this is another way to change the shape of the curve. Let's go back to round. Now you might have started to understand how we are going to create the hair clumps. For that, we will create a simple curve. We will create a curve profile object. We will change the profile shape a little. And then we will come to the main curve, use the object option, and use this profile object, change our profile object shape. And finally, we can go to edit mode of the main curve and press Alt S to create this tip of the hair. So this is how we are going to create the hair clumps for our character. Now, before we create the hair, we need to choose a hairstyle for our character. And since our character is a female character, we don't have a shortage of hairstyles. I already found a few images of different hairstyles. You can also generate them using AI, or if you are not satisfied with them, you can come to Pinterest and choose from a quadrillion types of hairstyles for girls. So once you choose, we can start creating the hair. So I'm going to choose this hairstyle because it looks simple, beautiful, but most importantly, it's easier to make. I'm going to bring that image into here. We can change this to image editor. We can click open and find that image. So we chose mesh based hair, but we're going to create the mesh using curves as I showed you earlier. And if we want, we can always convert that curve to mesh. So now we're going to create curves. Shift A, curve, Bezier curve for the main hair clump. Shift A circle for the profile. Let's rename them F2, hair clump or something. Select this and F2, hair profile. Now let's put them in a separate collection. Select both, press M, new collection, and let's say hair. We will make the hair profile a bit smaller, and let's make it rectangular, just a very generic shape. We can always change it later if you want. Now select the Bezier curve, go to curve properties, geometry and bevel. We need to choose the object option and select hair profile. The hair is a little too big. Go to edit mode, select everything and make it smaller. Alt S to scale down. Now let's go ahead and put it on the character's head. We can rotate the curve, press 3. In object mode we can rotate, but as you can see the origin is left in the center of the world. Right click, set origin to geometry. We will bring the origin back to the center of the world later. Rotate it like this. And we will rotate it more. Let's make it smaller. When we make changes in the object mode, later we need to apply the transformations, or rather transforms. Let's go to edit mode, make it smaller. Currently we have only 2 handles. I think we don't have to subdivide it. The less controllers you have, the easier it is to change the shape, because if you have many controllers you need to move along a lot of things. But for some hair we need to have more segments, but we will see. Control L, Shift D. Let's start from this left side. Rotate. We're going to make this end, which is the root of hair, slightly bigger, and this end slightly smaller, just like that. I think we need to have more resolution to make it smoother. Let's come here, not 12, but 32. If it is not enough, we will make it even higher resolution. If you noticed, I am duplicating the hair clumps in edit mode. You can do that in object mode to control individual clumps. And this will also make it easier to manipulate each clump, because if you have a lot of hair clumps and you go to edit mode, sometimes it's difficult to select. But for now we will try to do everything in edit mode. If it starts to get really difficult to select, we will go and separate some parts of the hair. Let's go to edit mode. We're going to put it about here. We might of course need to change the overall shape once we give texture to the hair. Control L, Shift D. Remember to press Control T to rotate the hair clumps, Alt S to scale it up. we shouldn't be able to see through, so we need to close these spaces between the hair clumps. I think we need one more here, and we'll duplicate this. And there is this opening which I don't really like. I think I'm going to close that with another hair clump. So Control L, Shift D, put it under this hair, Shift H to hide everything else, Alt S to make it smaller. Actually, I'm going to subdivide this because we need one more controller right here. Now I think it looks much better. That's all for modeling the hair. Of course, we're going to make it much more beautiful using special hair material. I will show you how to create one. So yeah, now it's time for quick questions. We have some simple questions. The first one, what are different ways to create characters' hair? So we talked about this in the beginning of the lesson. The first way to create hair for characters is using hair particles, which look the most realistic, but they are most computationally expensive. And the next way to create hair is using hair cards, which are essentially subdivided planes with some hair textures. And the third type of hair is mesh-based hair. You can model or you can sculpt the mesh and you give texture to make it look like hair. And we're hacking this way using curves. So these are the three common ways of creating hair. The next question, how do you create geometry using curves? This is also very easy. You first need to create curve, Shift A, curve, Bezier or any other curve. Then you go to curve properties, you go down to the geometry section and change the bevel. You can use another curve as the curve profile, or you can use profile option, or you simply stay on this round option and increase the depth. So the final question, how do you scale and tilt curve control points? I hope you remember this by now. You simply select any control point, you press Alt S to scale and Control T to tilt. If you can't see it very well, Shift Z, Control T, and you can see I am tilting this control point. So that's all for this lesson. I hope to see you soon.